Watch. What if you were asked to investigate the disappearance of a fire lookout tower watcher? An obvious case. Someone simply left their post. But then it turned out his boots, jacket, and backpack remained in place, and the dust layer on the only staircase leading down was completely untouched. What if you found his torn backpack and assumed a bear attack? The standard version for wilderness areas. Then you realize there's not a drop of blood, not a shred of fur, and the footprints nearby look like perfect round indentations in a straight line. What if you discovered his last panic entry in the journal? I think tonight he'll be closer. But after listening to his radio communications for the next 3 days, you hear an absolutely calm voice reporting no incidents. This is not a story of a man lost in the woods. It is the story of how the forest itself can watch you, slowly driving you mad before taking you away. And the main question isn't what happened to Gallagher, but whether he was the first victim of this tower or just another in a long, repeated cycle. According to official U.S. Forest Service documents, the site is Fire Lookout Tower Number 4, Sector 2 Forks, Shoshone National Forest, Wyoming. The tower, a standard steel less truss, was built in 1963 at the peak of Emerson Mountain, 2,743 meters above sea level. The tower stands about 31 meters tall. At the top is a lookout room about 4 by 4 meters, fully glazed for a 360-degree view. Access is via an external ladder with 157 steps and a hatch in the floor locked from inside. The summer of 1997 was the first and last season of 24-year-old Gallagher, hired as a seasonal watcher. According to his personnel file, Gallagher was a college student from Chicago on academic leave. He had no prior forestry service experience, but underwent a mandatory 2-day briefing. Senior ranger and sector supervisor at the time was Frank Hayes, a 20-year veteran. The first 2 weeks of Gallagher's watch, based on the tower's logbook, show no incidents. Entries were written in neat, clear handwriting, containing standard meteorological info. A typical entry from June 6, 1997, 8 a.m. Temperature 12 degrees Celsius. Northwest wind 1 meter per second. Visibility 60 kilometers. No cloud cover. No fire sources detected. Radio communications at this time were also routine. Items found in the tower after disappearance helped to piece together Gallagher's life. Among his personal effects were a Sony portable CD player, a stack of 12 discs with grunge music, and several paperback books, including Stephen King's The Shining. These details suggest a typical pastime for a person in long-term isolation. The first documented departure from routine was July 14, 1997. Meteorological archives show that at 11:05 p.m., a severe thunderstorm with frequent lightning strikes hit Sector 2 Forks. The next morning's journal entry at 8 a.m. differs from earlier ones. After the weather report, a short note appeared in the comments. Observed a visual anomaly on Saddle Ridge during lightning flash. Presumed optical effect. An important detail, Saddle Ridge lies about 5 kilometers west of the tower, an open rocky area with no tree cover. An analysis of archived radio communications shows that on the morning of July 15th, Gallagher, for the first time, asked Senior Ranger Frank Hayes about the presence of hiking trails near Saddle Ridge. Similar queries from him had not been recorded before. According to the audio, Hayes's response was unequivocal. "There's nothing to do there, Leo. Bare rocks to the wind. Sector closed to visitors. No trails there. Don't make up nonsense. Over." In the following days, no unusual entries appeared in the tower's log. However, the ridge stayed on Gallagher's mind. The next event, reconstructed, took place late July. Exact date unknown. In radio communications from July 28th, Gallagher sounded noticeably agitated. He reported to Hayes the discovery of a foreign object at the base of the tower's staircase. Upon clarification, he described it as a small pyramid made of 3 flat stones stacked atop one another. Gallagher insisted the object was not there the day before and argued it was proof of an intruder's presence near the tower. The conversation suggests Hayes was skeptical, suggesting the stones might have been left by lost hikers. Nevertheless, he promised to check registration logs. 2 days later, Hayes informed Gallagher no permissions were granted for Sector 2 forks and no hiking groups reported straying from the route. On July 28th, the tower's log records a note in visibly tense handwriting. Foreign object found at base of staircase. Pyramid of 3 stones of unknown origin. Graphologists, later studying the journal, noted that from this date on, Gallagher's handwriting changed, becoming smaller and more angular. The most disturbing period, according to documentary evidence, begins on August 1st. Entries in the log grew irregular and fragmented. Standard meteorological reports alternated with short personal notes unrelated to duties. The entry from presumably the evening of August 1st. Object on the ridge, now constantly visible, not moving. The entry from the morning of August 2nd. Visibility 50 kilometers. No wind. It's still there, just standing. No clarifications on the object's nature were made in the journal. During radio communications on August 1st and 2nd, Gallagher made no mention of it. His reports were restrained and businesslike. Experts suggest that after facing Hayes's disbelief, Gallagher may have decided to conduct observations alone, recording only in writing. During this period, the first mentions of sound anomalies appeared. Notes on the August 2nd report read, "At night, heard rhythmic cracking under the tower, not like an animal." The last journal entry for this phase, presumably evening of August 2nd, was a single sentence written in uneven, almost scratched letters at the page's bottom. "I think tonight he will be closer." Following this entry are 3 blank pages. After August 2nd, 1997, the Tower 2 Forks log remains empty for 3 days. This lapse is the first and only deviation from Gallagher's established protocol. Analysis of this 3-day period relies solely on radio communication data, which itself paints a contradictory picture. According to the archive, Gallagher contacted base at scheduled times on the mornings and evenings of August 3rd, 4th, and 5th. His dispatches were brief and contained only necessary meteorological updates, ending with the standard phrase, "No incidents to report." Analysis of archived radio communications shows that on the morning of July 15th, Gallagher first requested from Senior Ranger Frank Hayes information about hiking trails in the Saddle Ridge area. No similar previous requests had been recorded. According to the audio, Hayes's response was clear. "There's nothing to do there, Leo. Bare rocks to the wind. Sector closed to visitors. No trails. Don't make up nonsense. Over." In the following days, no unusual entries appeared in the log, but the ridge seemed to occupy Gallagher's mind. The next event reconstructed took place in late July. Exact date unknown. Radio transmissions from July 28th show Gallagher noticeably agitated. He reported to Hayes the discovery of a foreign object at the base of the tower stairs. He described it as a small pyramid of 3 flat stones stacked. Gallagher insisted the object was not there the day before and that it was evidence of an intruder near the tower. The conversation suggests Hayes was skeptical, thinking it could be stones left by lost hikers, but promised to check visitor logs. 2 days later, Hayes informed Gallagher no permits had been issued for Sector 2 Forks and no hiking parties reported off route. A tense journal entry on July 28th read, "Foreign object found at the base of the stairs. Pyramid of 3 stones of unknown origin." Graphologists studying the log noted Gallagher's handwriting became smaller, more angular from this date forward. The most worrisome period, according to documents, began August 1st. Log entries became irregular and fragmented. Standard weather reports mixed with short personal phrases unrelated to duties. An entry from presumably the evening of August 1st states, "Object on ridge now constantly visible, not moving." An August 2nd morning entry reads, Visibility 50 kilometers. No wind. It's still there, just standing. No further clarifications on the object were made. During August 1st and 2nd radio communications, Gallagher did not mention the object. His reports were restrained, businesslike. Experts suggest, facing Hayes's disbelief, Gallagher decided to observe alone, recording only in writing. The first mentions of sound anomalies appear. Notes for August 2nd read, "At night, heard rhythmic cracking under the tower, not like an animal." The last journal entry for this phase, likely from the evening of August 2nd, consists of a single sentence written in uneven, almost scratched letters at the page bottom. "I think tonight he will be closer." Following this are 3 blank pages. After August 2nd, 1997, the Tower 2 Forks log remains empty for 3 days. This documentation gap is the only significant deviation from Gallagher's protocol. Analysis of this 3-day period is based solely on radio communications, which paint a contradictory picture. According to the archives, Gallagher called base at scheduled times, mornings and evenings, August 3rd, 4th, and 5th. His reports were extremely brief, containing only necessary weather updates, ending with the standard phrase, "No incidents to report." The voice on the recording sounded steady without signs of distress. This dissonance between the panicked journal entry and the calmness over the radio became a key question for investigators. However, a more tangible sign of Gallagher's progressing psychological deterioration was found in another artifact, a Polaroid one-step camera discovered on the tower floor. Inside the cartridge, 4 undeveloped shots remained. The developed photos found, 8 in total, were scattered across the table and bed. The first 3 were typical landscape shots taken in clear weather. The 4th was a self-portrait, Gallagher smiling into the camera against a sunset. But the content of the next photos changed drastically. The 5th and 6th photos were taken using maximum zoom, focused on Saddle Ridge. Due to distance and optics quality, the image was blurry, but in the center, a dark, vertically elongated object could be distinguished, matching descriptions from the journal. The 7th shot, according to experts, was taken at night with a flash. The frame was aimed downward toward the forest at the tower's base. Most of the photo was blackness, but in the foreground, treetops lit by the flash. When heavily zoomed in, 2 light spots could be seen in the upper right, aligned horizontally. Their origin was undetermined. The 8th and final photo was the most disturbing. A self-portrait, taken inside the tower room, presumably at night. The shot was severely underexposed. Gallagher's face, reflected in the window glass, was twisted in a grimace of terror. His eyes were wide open, his mouth slightly parted. Behind his reflection, in the dark room's depths, a vague, darker silhouette could be seen, partially overlapping Gallagher's shoulder. Official expert analysis failed to conclusively determine whether this was a foreign object, a play of light and shadows, or a development flaw. Nevertheless, this photo became the main visual evidence of abnormal events at the tower. The silence in the logbook was broken on the morning of August 6th. A new entry, in the same pen, but handwriting nearly unrecognizable. Letters were large, broken, written with such force that they pierced the paper in places. The entry consisted of 4 words, circled boldly. "Don't look in the eyes, don't listen." A few hours after this entry, at 1:20 p.m., Gallagher made his last contact, breaking the established schedule. This radio transmission was automatically recorded at base and became the cornerstone piece of evidence in his disappearance case. Transcription of the last transmission. Gallagher, base. This is Peak 4. Frank, do you copy? Over. Hayes, Leo, what's going on? This is not a scheduled check-in. Report your situation. Over. Pause. Heavy, broken breathing is heard. It's singing, Frank, all night. Low sound, like a hum right in my head. Hayes, what hum, son? Calm down and speak clearly. Are you okay? Maybe you have altitude sickness. Over, Gallagher. No, it's not sickness. It's it. I hear it right now. It's not scratching, it just waits and sings. You mustn't listen, you mustn't. Hayes, Leo, hold on, I'm sending people. Do you read me? Just lock up and don't go near the windows. We're on our way. Over, Gallagher. Too late. Eyes. At this moment, the recording abruptly ends with a sharp, loud sound, described in the report as a metallic strike, like a heavy tool falling on a steel sheet. Immediately following is a continuous white noise. After this call, Frank Hayes declared a state of emergency, sent the nearest park ranger patrol to the tower, and requested aerial support. A team of 2 rangers arrived at the tower's base about 3 hours later. According to their report, everything was calm at the construction's base. No signs of struggle, strangers, or wild animals were found. Climbing the ladder, the searchers found that the hatch to the observation room was not locked, but ajar by several centimeters. The scene inside was described as one of interrupted action. An open can of stewed beef, half-eaten, stood on the table. Next to it lay the tower's logbook, open to the last entry. One chair was overturned. On the floor by the window lay a Polaroid camera. Gallagher's personal effects, backpack, change of clothes, sleeping bag, were all in their places. His hiking boots stood by the bed. His jacket hung on a hook, but Gallagher himself was nowhere in the room. Initial inspection revealed no signs of violence. Windows were intact, no blood traces found, a crucial detail noted in the first patrol report. The dust layer on the staircase steps leading down from the hatch was untouched. This indicated that at least in the last few hours, no one had descended from the tower by the standard route. That same evening, August 6, 1997, a full-scale search and rescue operation was officially launched. From the outset, investigators encountered something that defied standard procedures. All evidence pointed to Gallagher disappearing from his tower without using the stairs, as if dissolved into the rarefied mountain air. The full-scale search and rescue operation, number 790-07315, was officially initiated on August 7, 1997. The initial search area was defined as an 8-kilometer radius circle centered on the Two Forks Tower. 3 ground teams were deployed, a K-9 unit, patrols on snowmobiles, and a helicopter. Leadership was assigned to County Sheriff Dwight Abernathy. Senior Ranger Frank Hayes and civilian professional tracker Benjamin Cartwright were brought in as consultants. The investigation followed several parallel directions from the start, based on standard protocols for similar incidents. The primary theory, according to Sheriff Abernathy's report, was voluntary disappearance. A request sent to the Chicago Police Department confirmed Gallagher's financial troubles and recent breakup with a girlfriend, potential motives for leaving. This theory gained additional support after discovering a topographic map in the tower marked with a pencil route to highway number 212. For 2 days, August 7th and 8th, search efforts focused along this route. No results. By the evening of August 8th, the runaway theory was deemed unlikely due to the presence of Gallagher's personal documents, money, and survival gear required for wilderness. A parallel theory of a wild animal attack was also investigated. On August 8th, about 800 meters north of the tower, one search group found Gallagher's torn canvas backpack. The report of the Forest Service expert tentatively concluded a possible black bear attack, citing the type of damage to the fabric. However, further investigation revealed contradictions. Firstly, complete absence of biological traces. No blood, no fur, no victim. Secondly, the K-9 unit could not pick up Gallagher's trail from the backpack site. Thirdly, consultant Benjamin Cartwright's comment was added. According to the sheriff's report, Cartwright pointed out that the damage's nature was atypical, not matching known large predator behavior, described as chaotic and random, not directed at extracting food. The special interest of investigators was drawn to an addendum. Cartwright claimed to have found nearby a chain of unidentified marks. He described them as deep, round impressions, about 30 centimeters in diameter, arranged in a straight line at equal intervals, disappearing at the edge of a rocky outcrop. Despite Cartwright's authority, the marks could not be documented or cast. They entered the official report only as an unconfirmed anomaly recorded based on the consultant's words. By August 9th, the wild animal attack theory was also shelved due to insufficient evidence. A third theory investigated was violent crime by third parties. It was assumed Gallagher might have witnessed poaching or other illegal activities. As part of this, an aerial survey was conducted to detect unauthorized camps. None were found. Ground teams discovered traces of an old campfire about 6 kilometers from the tower. However, examination showed it hadn't been used for months. Nearby was a spent bullet casing, but judging by the corrosion, it had been in the ground for years. No evidence indicating the presence of outsiders in the sector between August 1st and 6th was found. By August 12th, almost a week into the search, the operation hit a dead end. All standard theories had been tested and found unsubstantiated. In an interview with the Cody Enterprise newspaper, Sheriff Abernathy stated, "We're dealing with an extremely complicated case. The evidence found on site contradicts each other. We can't confidently say what exactly happened to Mr. Gallagher, but we continue the search." The active phase of the operation was wound down on August 14th. Searches were shifted to periodic patrols. However, on that very day, Ben Cartwright, acting privately, decided to investigate Saddle Ridge. In his subsequent written explanation for the sheriff's office, he said he acted on intuition based on early entries in Gallagher's journal. The results of his trip became the strangest element in the entire case. According to Cartwright's report submitted to Sheriff Abernathy on August 15th, he found on the ridge a place he described as an ancient ritual site, or offering place. In a wind-protected rocky niche, he found several dozen stone pyramids, similar to the one Gallagher described. Some were covered with lichen, indicating great age. Others were clearly constructed recently. Beneath one of the fresh pyramids, as Cartwright indicated, a foreign object was discovered. Subsequent examination by the investigative team confirmed his claim. The niche contained artifacts added to the case file, a rusty fragment of a forged spur, possibly dating to the 19th century, a blue glass bead, presumably a trade bead, a heavily oxidized copper medallion with no engraving. One silver button featuring an eagle, identified by an expert as part of a U.S. Army uniform from the Civil War era. These finds did not explain Gallagher's disappearance, but they were the first and only physical evidence that Saddle Ridge, described by Gallagher as the source of threat in his last reports, was indeed a place of anomalous activity with an apparently long history. Exhausting all rational versions, the investigation for the first time encountered physical evidence pointing to the irrational nature of the events. The discovery on Saddle Ridge marked the last active step within the official investigation. Collected artifacts, button, spur, and others, were cataloged, but their origin and connection to the case could not be established. In the final report, Sheriff Abernathy conceded that the inquiry had reached an impasse due to a lack of rational explanations for the totality of evidence. On September 18, 1997, the Leo Gallagher case was classified as cold, and he was officially listed as missing under unexplained circumstances. For the following year, Tower 2 Forks remained abandoned. The Forest Service considered dismantling it. However, due to bureaucratic delays and funding shortages, in summer 1998, the decision was made to mothball the structure again and hire a new seasonal lookout. This new watcher, whose name remains confidential, made a discovery that cast an even darker light on the story. In late July, while cleaning the room, he noticed a floorboard near the wall creaked more than others. Lifting it, he found a shallow niche beneath. Inside, wrapped in yellowed wax paper, was a small tin tobacco box. Within the box lay a tiny diary bound in leather. The diary belonged to a watcher named Elias Svensson, and the entries dated back to 1958. Upon studying this document, the investigation found an alarming, near-exact sequence of events as described by Elias Svensson 39 years before Gallagher's disappearance. The narrative followed the same script. Excerpt from Elias Vence's diary. Entry dated July 20th, 1958. For 2 weeks now, I've been watching a strange man on the western ridge. Looks like a geologist or just a tourist, but he doesn't move at all. Just stands there from morning till night. Maybe some kind of strange marker I hadn't noticed before. Excerpt from the entry of July 31st, 1958. At night, I heard those sounds again, clicking, like someone breaking dry branches, but very slowly and methodically. In the morning, I found that damn pyramid of stones by the stairs. This is no longer funny. Someone's playing games with me, he reported on the radio, but the old man just laughed it off. As the journal progressed, Vence's entries became increasingly fragmentary and panicked. Like Gallagher, he described rising anxiety, a feeling of constant observation, and an irrational fear of the forest. The last pages were filled with chaotic, hard-to-read scribbles. The last entry in Elias Vence's journal, dated August 10th, 1958. It's at the foot. I see its shadow in the moonlight. It doesn't climb. It just waits. And that sound, that hum, it's not outside. It's inside my head. Don't look at it. Eyes. The entry ends here. Forest Service archives confirmed the worst fears. Elias Svensson, tower watcher aged 32, was declared missing from Two Forks Tower in August 1958. His body was never found. The official cause of disappearance was probable death due to an accident on rugged terrain. The link between these two disappearances, almost 40 years apart, became undeniable. This information did not help find Leo Gallagher, but transformed his case from a mysterious incident into part of a sinister, recurring cycle. Tower Two Forks stopped being just an observation post. It became a trap. The final stroke was added at the end of the 1998 season. The watcher who found the diary submitted a report to Senior Ranger Frank Hayes. The report was standard, except for one handwritten note at the very end. August 28th, regular sector observation. Visual inspection of Saddle Ridge through optics recorded presence of two stationary vertical objects at the point where only one had been observed according to Gallagher's case documentation. Following this report, continued operation of the tower was deemed impractical. In spring 1999, Fire Lookout Tower No. 4, Sector Two Forks, was officially decommissioned due to structural instability and high maintenance costs. Over the next several years, it was dismantled. The case of Leo Gallagher's disappearance remains open to this day. Neither he nor his body nor any of his personal belongings missing from the tower have ever been found. What exactly dwells on the deserted ridges of Shoshone National Forest? And why does it sometimes take those who dare to watch it too long? The answer to this question does not exist. Thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and respect the mysteries that guard the wild.